Hey, welcome back guys. Today we're going to make a coffee scoop using only 2 tools, so stick around. So what do we have here today? We've got the Irwin Marbles 3/4 inch chisel, and we've got the Clark Brothers hook knife. The chisel costs $9.99 and the Clark Brothers hook knife costs $9.88. Both of these are on Amazon. We've also got a small piece of walnut that this is from what we milled last year. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a card at the top. So I took that small piece of walnut and sort of marked out the general shape that I want to make the scoop. Hopefully you can see sort of the general shape. And I even marked it on the edge as well. So I think what I'm going to do is put it in the vise here and just start chiseling away sort of the waste here until I kind of get the general shape. If you watch the review of the Irwin chisel, you'll know that it's very, very sharp. I'm going to cheat a little bit and use my carving mallet, but you could certainly get away with a piece of wood or something if you don't have a mallet. So that's looking pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. That was just with the chisel. So I just sort of roughed out the shape, and now it's time to take the hook knife and start grooving out the center there. So we really haven't talked about the hook knife very much, at least not in this video we haven't. It comes with a nice wood handle, and the blade is really sharp already, and it comes with this nice little leather sheath. According to the description on Amazon, the blade thickness is 2 millimeters and the blade length is 55 millimeters. It's designed for a right-hand user, as the cutting portion of the blade is on the left side here. It has an ash handle, and according to the Amazon, it actually has a money-back guarantee. And I was surprised that the blade really seems very sharp. It almost feels like it has a burr on it. So that's good, because this little guy would probably be pretty hard to sharpen. So I think we'll go ahead and just put it straight to work. So I've never used a hook knife before, but my understanding is you kind of you cut the wood and use your thumb and the tool to carve into the wood like this. My main focus today is not to cut my thumb because it seems like it's kind of in the line of fire here a little bit. So I'm going to keep my thumb over to the side of the stock here, and then we're going to sort of pull the knife through the wood and see if we can start carving. The hook knife seems to work pretty good around the outside, but it doesn't seem to work very good on the middle. So I think I'll just take the Irwin chisel and kind of knock out some of this waste, then maybe it'll be easier to swoop through there with the hook knife. Now that we've got the bowl started a little bit, it's actually working pretty well. It just sort of, if you just go ahead and take small little slivers, it actually cuts pretty good. You just got to be careful not to try to take too much, or it seems to want to hang up. So after I turned the camera off last night, I was sitting out on the porch watching the kids play, and I kept working on the grooving out the center here of the coffee scooper. And you can see it's working pretty good. And I did all that work and I still haven't sharpened the hook knife. And it's still cutting pretty well. Now that I've got the majority of the material hogged out, I'm just going to go ahead and start shaping the handle to kind of its final shape. It's still just a little bit big, I think. And I'm just going to be using my chisel just to kind of pare down around the perimeter of the scooper. So it's looking pretty good. I've done all this so far, both the bowl portion and all of the shaping with the original sharpening I did with the Irwin Marples chisel, and also the factory edge that was on the hook knife. So now I'm going to take both of the knives and put a quick edge on them, and then finish up the smoothing of the coffee scoop. So I was sitting here trying to decide how to sharpen this hook knife. I don't think it's gonna be very easy to sharpen it on my diamond plates. So I've got these little hand sharpeners that are made by DMT, Diamond Sharp, and there is a coarse, fine, and extra fine, and I think maybe those will work okay to try to just put a nice edge on it real quick. These little hand sharpeners are kind of handy to have for knives and various tools that it's hard to get the tool over to your diamond plates. Thinking maybe this will just give it a nice little burr to kind of clean up the inside bowl. I'm just going to try to take it and kind of smooth up the inside of it now. I've got basically the right shape, I think. Now I just want to kind of clean it up a little bit, make it smoother. So being that this is the only hook knife I've ever used, I don't have anything to compare to, but it's a pretty handy little knife. It did a pretty good job with this hard walnut. I probably should have started with something a little bit softer, but it's a pretty cool little knife. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff with it. It kind of just takes a little bit of practice to figure out what portion of the blade to use. Not only is it useful for creating the bowl for the spoon, it actually works pretty good to sort of plane the wood and create a smooth surface. So I'm pretty happy with that. This is something I can use every day in the kitchen to scoop out my coffee, and it's pretty neat that I was able to accomplish that with just using two really cheap tools. So we'll go ahead and use our mineral oil and beeswax to protect the walnut, and that will also bring out the color of it. I made this last year by just melting some beeswax into some mineral oil on the wood stove. So that was a fun little project. I appreciate you guys watching. All I used was these two tools and a mallet, and both tools held up really well. The chisel, I did put a little bit of an edge on it at the very end, but the majority of the work was with the original sharpening I did. And then we did the majority of the work with the hook knife with the factory edge. These little DMT hand sharpeners work pretty good as well to put an edge on the hook knife. So as always, I'll put a link in the description to all the tools I used. Thank you guys for watching. This was a really fun project for me, and we'll see you in the next video.